Hello, and thank you for joining again for a new episode of Frame by Frame, Nikon's podcast from here, from the heart of Xposure. I am very, very happy to be joined by Priyanshi Tahata,
Thank
a
you.
renowned wildlife photographer whose style is quite different, and I am one of her personal admirers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
So,
Pleasure.
wildlife photography for a female photographer. What's the burden of that? It's like a lot of traveling, a lot of things that you have to do for your wildlife photography, and yet you are a businesswoman, a mother of a 2 years old boy, and a family lady. That's a lot.
It is a lot, but I think the challenges is what has always inspired me. Uh, when I started off, there were a lot of pushbacks, and I believe that those pushbacks made me strong. That I had to give an answer to those pushbacks because I never had at that time. I just had to start. I had a full-time job which I left to pursue my wildlife photography. And the only person who was standing by me was my husband. He
Nice.
told me, I still remember and I always will, he told me that uh, there are not many people in this world who get to fulfill uh, and pursue what they like. A lot of us are burdened by corporate jobs because we need to run our family.
Yes.
You are lucky that you're not. So just go ahead and fulfill your dreams.
That's that's a very supportive husband,
Yes, it is.
and that's a very nice story. How did it start? How did you find yourself drawn to wildlife photography?
It was in 2015. So both my husband and I, we've always loved wildlife. As children, also, I think for me, I've always instead of watching cartoons, it used to be always animals. And so in 2015, it was a 2 years wedding anniversary, and we both decided that we would take a trip to Tanzania.
It was
And
the Serengeti.
yeah, Serengeti. And I fell in love. I wasn't like a really pro wildlife photographer at that time. I used to love photography, and I had a Nikon 200, 500 with me and a D7000 at that time. And I was like, okay, I mean, I just fell in love with nature. It was so peaceful to be there. It was a 12 days trip.
It's like 12 days out of this world.
It
That's
changed. It changed me completely as a person, and that's when I realized I don't want to sit in a 9 to 5 job. This is what I want to do. I want to document nature.
It is actually what draws most people to wildlife photography, because while it is like hard work, it requires investment, it requires logistics, it requires planning, but at the same time, once you're there, you're like out of this world for a change,
You
and
don't remember anything, any stress at all.
you don't remember any stress, and you get to learn from both the animals and the environment they are in,
Yeah,
and also the native people who live there,
yeah,
who are
correct.
in touch with this kind of nature all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you started off shooting with the Nikon 7000, D7000.
Yeah.
What do you shoot with now?
I shoot with Z9. All the way, the
All the
best.
way to the best, straight up.
Yes,
How is
yes.
the experience of shooting with the Z9?
It's amazing. It's phenomenal. I mean, I love that camera in and out.
What is in that camera that makes it amazing for you as a wildlife photographer?
I say the fact that it's so everything in that technology is so easy. It's so easy to use. And I know for the fact if I have that camera, I'm not going to miss a shot. That is for sure. I know it. Not just for the belief that I am using Nikon and I'm with Nikon, but I know the fact that if I'm using a Z9, the chances of me missing out on a shot is
Slim. Well, a Z9 with a renowned photographer with a lot of experience, that's a mix that is very difficult to beat, isn't it?
yes, it is.
And how does it feel in your hand? Like when you shoot with one camera system, with one ecosystem for long enough, the camera becomes part of your hand. Like
Correct.
like
Yeah.
you're playing on the piano rather than you are changing
Yeah,
settings, right?
yeah, it is. So I was with D5 for a very long time, and then from D5 to Z9, it just felt very comfortable because it just felt so familiar, as in terms of holding it, and yet there was a huge leap in terms of technology.
Technology and ease of use as well.
Yes, yes.
What's your go-to lens?
So I have I have two go-through lenses. One is a 400 mm VRTC, and the second one is 7200. I think I cannot travel with either of them. Like both of them have to be with me.
Now, the 7200, I agree with you. Nobody should travel without the
Yes.
7200
Yes.
for wildlife photography, for street photography, for landscape photography, for anything.
Completely.
That's like a golden lens.
Yes.
But the 400 is now. It depends on what you are shooting. We were talking about bird photography, and yet you're using a 400, not a 600, not something that reaches the 600. Do you feel a little bit constrained with the focal length?
Um, So, to be very honest with you, I am somebody who do not really shoot the bird, the subject itself. I like shooting any kind of a subject with its habitat, with its, the surroundings and everything.
So the
So
minus
for me,
200 give you an
yes,
advantage.
yes, it does. So it works perfectly for me because then I'm not like too focused on the bird.
The lens is actually fantastic and very fast in,
Yeah.
in autofocusing.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a story of a photograph that you are specifically proud of?
I'll be very honest with you. I think I'm the biggest critic of my own photographs. I take a
You're
photograph.
hard on yourself, aren't you?
I take a photograph, I'm very happy about it. And then maybe a week later I'm like, oh, I could have done that better. And I just trash it. It's it's like that. But then there are a couple of photographs for which I have really worked hard to get them. There was one in my last trip in Indonesia. I stayed um, I stayed with a mum and a daughter orangutan for 5 days in a speedboat.
Nice.
And I used to get up early morning. I used to be with them. I used to go back on the boat in the evening, and I used to sleep there at night. It would rain sometimes, so we would just hold one umbrella and just sit there. I didn't want to leave them because I wanted to shoot them with 14-24 mm. So it was very important for them to get comfortable around me, so that I can shoot 14 mm. And there was a lot of planning required to take those kind of shots. So I think I am very happy that I did that.
This poses a question because if you are visiting them regularly and getting used to them and feeding them, did you feed them? No. We're not supposed to, right?
We should never feed
We
a
should
wild.
never we should never interfere with the
No, we should never, ever, ever feed a wild animal.
nor feed them, neither do anything else that will disturb their regular life.
Yeah, no. It's good. It's always good to maintain a distance and let them be comfortable with you being around. And once you see that they are comfortable, yet maintain a good distance.
So you don't disturb their regular
Yeah,
life.
yeah, you don't.
And this is an ethical message, I guess, for everybody who is interested in wildlife photography. You have to preserve the environment and nature the way it is. You
You
should
do.
never interfere.
Yes, you should not.
Do you feel that sometimes we overdo it? Like if you go to the Serengeti again and you see all those land cruisers going around the cheetah that is trying to hunt, do you feel a little bit overprotective of the cheetah? Like, why are we doing this?
I remember there was once that I ended up crying at a safari because there was an incident when there was a mother with a couple of cubs, and she couldn't. There were cars, safari vehicles, and so many vehicles, and they were constantly chattering. She couldn't hear the lion.
Oh,
And because she couldn't hear the lion, she couldn't divert the lion. She couldn't protect her cubs. And she lost them to the lion.
because of us.
Imagine if we were quiet, if we had given her that distance, if we had let her be in her own surrounding, probably she wouldn't have lost her babies. I really cried. I'm like, why?
Why did you do this?
Why are we stooping so low to get a photograph? And the worst is when you talk to these people and you tell them that you know that the lion is approaching. As us as people in the car, we've already seen the lion being approaching. So the least that we could have done is we could have been really calm and quiet and let the mother herself protect.
Because nature
The
has its way of.
Exactly. The response that you get, oh, we should not interfere with nature. If the cat has to kill a cat, it will kill a cat. But you never let the cat defend.
Yeah, we should never interfere. That's the point.
Yeah.
So let's just be quiet and let nature work its way
Yeah.
out. At
And
least it won't be. I mean, if the cubs die anyway, it won't be our fault.
Fault, exactly. Yeah, and it's been going on a lot. To be fair and honest, what I used to see when 7 years ago, what I see now, it's drastic difference.
Tell me something. When you go there and you come back to civilization, or what we call civilization, how hard is it to do the transition
It takes me a week to 10 days every single time. You know,
until
it's
today?
days. Then I come back. It takes me about a week, 10 days, and then I'm again about to go back.
This
So
is a very interesting thing because it happens to me. I went to Masai Mara twice. Every time I went, it's hard to readjust. I thought it's because I'm still new. I haven't gone frequently enough, but I think it will remain, right? It will.
it doesn't go. It's still the same for me for so many years now.
What's your next project? What animal are you going to shoot?
So I'm still gonna be focused on the cats that I've been doing. However, I do wish to photograph polar bears, and I do wish to photograph some birds in the snow area of Japan. So these are the two focus that I have. But this year, I think it's predominantly gonna be again leopards.
Leopards.
Yeah.
Where will you travel for leopards?
I have a coming up a trip to Samburu. So I'm going to Samburu for leopards, and of course I'm also conducting a trip there for people. But then after the trip is over, it's just me alone with the cat for some more days. So it's gonna be Samburu first, and then few other conservancies.
Do you have domestic cats at home?
So
And yet you love cats this much? Maybe you should.
I have absolutely no pets at home.
I have a dog and a cat. I prefer the cat. Don't tell my wife that.
I think majority of the people do. I have a lot of friends who have cats, and they say we love cats over dog any day.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of, in one way or another, they are the same species, and
They are.
in one way or another, they behave the same way, but in a more docile manner.
It's very it's very a lot of similarity if you see a leopard or a cheetah or and a house cat. A lot of similarity.
Yeah. Okay, so you'll be focusing on cats.
Yeah.
What is the most beautiful cat in your opinion? I have an answer of my own. I'll tell you after you tell me your answer.
I think my favorite is leopards for sure. I love leopards, but I think I also like caracals a lot. I had I was very lucky to witness a caracal in wild during a date during evening in Serengeti, my last trip. Always had a very I always had a dream that I will watch a caracal walking towards me, and it just happened. It was walking towards me, and I was so mesmerized.
And you have it on photo, of course.
I have a video.
Oh, you have a
I
video.
have a video on a Z9 with 7200 because it was walking so close.
I invite you all to go to her account on Instagram and look this video up because I can tell you it is going to be an epic video
Yep.
with a cat coming straight at you. This is not something that happens very
Yeah.
often.
A caracal, no.
Not,
It's
yeah,
a very, very, very elusive cat.
yeah. It is a shy one.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. Not when it is eating other animals, though.
You don't see them.
You don't see them.
No, you don't see them even eating other animals. It's a very small cat, and it's very shy to spot them. It's very difficult to spot them. It's a very, very shy cat.
Going back to gear, so the Z9 is an ultimate wildlife
Yeah.
camera. What do you hope from Z9 II when it comes in the future? Now, if we are to put a wish list for Nikon to add to this magnificent camera already,
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe like a 120 FPS raw shoot.
uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that. Otherwise, I think I'm very, very content with. I think that camera does everything that you want.
That's the thing. It makes you content to the extent that you don't think what is beyond.
Yeah, yeah.
But I came up with something. I want pre-capture.
Pre-capture release, of course, of course.
I want pre-capture. So Nikon, if you're listening, of course you're listening.
Yeah.
We want pre-capture in the next Z9 or the next flagship, whether you call it Z9
But
II or something.
you have pre-capture.
You have pre-capture by auto capture,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
That's the thing with a camera like this, or even with the Z8. It is very good to the extent that it stops the thought process of what will come next, and I don't
Right.
envy the engineers that are bringing the
It's so
specs.
difficult for them
Yeah,
to
the
think.
specs for the next generation. It's not
Yeah.
gonna be easy.
Yeah, yeah, it's very difficult to think
Okay,
because
what is your dream lens that you would love to see with a Nikkor branding on it?
maybe uh, maybe 1,000 or a 2,200 mm.
1200.
Yeah.
What would the f stop be on that one? I think
I would,
f11.
if it's a dream, I would want it at 2.8.
You know that's virtually
It's a dream.
impossible, isn't it?
Yeah.
There is
Yeah.
from another brand. There is a 1200 millimeter, but I think it's an
It's an
f11.
F11.
It's an f11
Yes.
only, so it's not.
Yes.
It doesn't start at f11.
Yeah. It's an
It's
only
f11
fixed
only.
F11.
Yeah.
Yes. I know about it.
You know what? I wouldn't mind seeing this, but in my experience, this long it has very few uses. It's
Well,
like
it really
when you're
depends.
shooting a bird from far away and you get the heat distortion and you get the
I agree.
yeah.
Yeah, but of course, then if it's a dream, I want the glass to be configured that you don't have heat distortion. And how I am seeing this is going couple of years ahead. If 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 the conservationists, if the forest government and the counties start making a regulation a little more strict, if of course if they have to save the wildlife, they would have to. All the off-road permits are gonna go off. People would have to stick to a proper road, proper paved place to take photographs from. And I think that's how it is supposed to be, and that's how it should become.
And that's where this
That's where
lens will
this
come
lens
to
will
play.
come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see your point.
Yeah.
Well, still a 600 with a 2x teleconverter
We'll give
perhaps
you this. Yeah.
will give you something similar.
Yeah. As I said, it's just a dream.
But it's a dream.
Yeah.
One can only dream.
Yeah. It would be so amazing to hold that long, really long lens and walk with it.
Perhaps get a few people to help you with how
Yeah.
long it is. It was a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for being
Thank
with
you.
us today.
Same here.
And thank you very much for watching yet another episode of Frame by Frame, Nikon's podcast from the heart of Xposure here at Expo Sharjah. We invite you all to come here to Nikon's pavilion and try out the technology that we've been talking about in this episode. And until the next episode, which will be in about half an hour from today, this is Dr. Ali Muhammad saying thank you very much and see you soon.
Thank you.